Hey friends, today's video is the ultimate Thanksgiving menu resource. I'm sharing 10 delicious recipes from a Copycat honey baked ham and Granny's cornbread dressing all the way through cheesy potato casserole and a chocolate eclair cake. And these are what I call real people food. They're the actual dishes that I make and serve year after year for our family's Thanksgiving dinner. They're not fancy, but honey, they are flavorful, time-tested, well-loved family favorites. And they're real easy to put together for you too. Now let's put together Patrick's favorite sweet potato casserole. Just start out by mashing up my sweet potatoes really good with a hand masher. And I used about a 40-ounce can of the sweet potatoes in the syrup. I just think that gives them a little extra sweetness. And this is the perfect size can for this recipe. Once you get all your sweet potatoes mashed up, and I do like to leave mine a little bit chunky, you're going to add in 1 cup of sugar and 2 eggs. I'm going to put in just a teaspoon of vanilla, a half a cup of milk. It calls for half a teaspoon of nutmeg, but I don't keep that, so I just use some pumpkin pie spice. I'm going to put in a couple tablespoons of flour and a half a cup of melted butter. Now, does that just not sound like heaven in a bowl right there? Going to mix all that together and make sure that it's incorporated really, really good. Now, we're going to make like a crumbly topping for this. We're going to use 1 cup of brown sugar and a cup of chopped pecans. Going to add into that a 1/3 cup of melted butter and a half a cup of flour. You're going to mix that together, and this is going to be like a really sweet crumble-like topping. This gives it a wonderful flavor and a little bit of crunch. I absolutely love it like this. This casserole you can assemble completely, refrigerate it, and cook it the next day, or you can make your topping the next morning, right before it goes in the oven. And I'm just using my hands to kind of make sure it's mixed in and to crumble it over all of the top of this. And I did put this in a greased 9x13 casserole dish. You don't want to push this topping down, you just want to spread it over the top. You don't want it to sink down into the sweet potatoes, you just want it to sit on top. And I put this in a 350-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. And look at this. This is like a 2-for-1 recipe. This is a great side. The sweet potatoes are delicious. It's so sweet, it can really be dessert too. I have seen people put coconut in this recipe, which I think would be great, but it would ruin it for my husband. This next recipe is a family favorite that I have been making for years. It's a chocolate eclair cake. Just starting out with a good sized mixing bowl, and you're going to put in 2 small boxes of instant vanilla pudding. Also going to put in just a cup of powdered sugar. Pouring in 3 cups of cold milk, and then you're just going to stir all that together. This is a perfect recipe that is quick. You don't even have to get out a mixer. You can just do this by hand with a whisk and it works fine. Once you get everything combined and your pudding is beginning to set up, you're just going to take an 8-ounce carton of whipped topping and you're just going to gently fold that in until it's completely dissolved into your pudding mixture. Now here comes the fun part. I'm just taking a 9x13 pan. I have oiled the bottom of it and I'm lining it with graham crackers. I just break them to size to cover the bottom of the pan, and then you're going to put about half of your pudding mixture over this layer of graham crackers. You want to spread that out really well and even, and you're going to come across with another layer of grahams. I really like to use the cinnamon graham crackers. I like that little bit of sugary crunch and spicy flavor you get in the middle. Then take the second half of your pudding mixture and put that over the top. Spread it out nice and even, and you guessed it, another layer of graham crackers. This does not have to be perfect. It's all going to be covered up. I take 1 can of chocolate frosting. I have fudge here, but I really prefer the milk chocolate. And I just microwave this in 30-second intervals and stir it, and then I just pour it right over the top. For years, I tried to icing those graham crackers with a knife until some sweet lady told me about microwaving your canned frosting. That has been a game changer for me. She icings all her cakes like this now. She just microwaves that frosting and pours it over. If you don't take anything from this video, that is probably one of the best kitchen hacks I've ever learned. You're just going to spread that frosting all across the top here. I'm just going to let you see my technique. I bet I've made 20 or 30 of these. I make them every year, sometimes twice a year, always at Thanksgiving. I make something similar, but it's a lemon variety at Easter time. This is so pretty. You just want to get everything covered, and this just looks like a big old chocolate eclair. I always make this dessert the night before, and I just set it in the refrigerator overnight. Then when you go to cut it out, it has set up perfectly. It comes out nice and easy. This dessert's a nice treat because it is something that is cool to eat. It's not like a warm pie or something like that. And the chocolate on the top gets just a little bit of firmness to it. This is just a decadent treat anytime. Let's get some green beans going, and we're going to start with bacon. This is the irregular bacon that I always find at Aldi, and I want you to look how good this is. I can never recommend this enough. It's about $3.80 something for a pound of this. It is so good. And I'm just taking about 6 slices of this, and I'm going to brown it up nice and crispy with just a little touch of onion in here. Let's just take a second and look at this skillet of beauty. I'm going to use 3 14.5-ounce cans of green beans, and I am going to drain them. I wanted to show you this little strainer because every time I use this, people ask me all about it. It's perfect for straining the water off canned vegetables, but if you turn it the other way and push it down into a small can of tuna, it is perfect for draining that too. I have one linked in my Amazon store in the description box, but I think you can also pick these up at Walmart if you're out, if you're interested. I'm putting all 3 of those cans of green beans in here, and I did drain them. Normally, I just cook them in the water they come in, but for special occasions, I like to cook them in some chicken broth. So I'm putting in 1.5 cups of that. I'm not going to put any salt to these. I may not at all. We'll see at the end. But I am going to put some pepper in here. And the reason I'm not putting any salt in it is because those 6 slices of bacon that we cooked up, I'm going to put all of that in here along with all the grease. Now, if you wanted to, you could dice up a potato or 2 and put in here, but I just really want them like this. And this is good to go just like it is. But something extra that I've been doing to my green beans when I cook them on the stove is add just a little bit of Worcestershire. And I'm going to do that here because we're really liking that. And I've been putting a little bit of brown sugar. And what's not to love about that? Now I'm just going to stir all of this together. You're welcome to use fresh green beans in here too if they're in season, but you know, right now the green beans don't look so good that you see around here in East Tennessee right now. But I think that is a perfect ratio right there of chicken broth, bacon, and all of the fixings. You just customize this. You can also use French style green beans, the flat green beans, whatever your family likes. I will leave a recipe linked down below with more specific measurements and stuff like this if you need that. I'll actually have recipes or links down below for everything that I show tonight, just like I always do. Gonna put this in the crock pot, cover it, cook it on high for 3 to 4 hours. They're done. Basically, you got to heat them through. You just want them to how you like them. If you like them really mushy or if you like them to have a little firmness to them. Green beans have been on about 2 hours. Let's look at them. They're looking good, but you know what? I'm going to leave them right where they're at because I like my green beans to get really good. Now I want to share with you a recipe for broccoli cornbread. This is so versatile. I don't know if this is a bread or a side or maybe even just an addition to the dressing stuffing area of your table, but I do know this: everyone loves broccoli cornbread. And this recipe starts with 8 ounces of cottage cheese. I know that that sounds like a strange ingredient, but believe me, it works in this recipe. We're also going to use 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. I'm going to throw you in a small diced onion. And season it up with just some salt and pepper. Also going to pour in 3/4 of a stick of butter that you've melted in the microwave. And we're going to crack 3 eggs into this. This recipe was actually given to me by my oldest daughter's boyfriend, Ryan. He's made this for us a couple times, I believe, and this is his mom's recipe for broccoli cornbread, and it is very good. I've made it, probably 2 or 3 times since he gave me this recipe. We absolutely love this. I do like to get all of this mixed up really good together before I add in my broccoli, and I'm using a 12-ounce bag of chopped broccoli, and I have cooked that up and drained all of the water off of it. You want to try to get it, as dry as you can. Then we're going to mix all of that together. And last but not least, the star of the show is always the Jiffy cornbread mix. I have been on a kick with eating recipes that include Jiffy cornbread recently. You can never go wrong with a good old box of Jiffy. Just want to mix all that together and get it combined really well. I am using a 9x9 baking dish. You want to be sure that you have greased it really well and spread your casserole in there. I am baking this at 375 degrees. Could take anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes. Mine did take the entire 45 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, because my dish was really thick. If you have this in a larger dish, you don't need to cook it as long, but you know it's done when you can stick a knife in it and it comes out clean. But this is like a 2-for-1 dish. I love these kind of things. You're getting a bread and you're getting a side all in one dish. And even people who say they don't like broccoli, I find that they like broccoli cornbread and broccoli casserole. You're definitely going to flip out for this Nutter Butter banana pudding. It's perfect for any holiday or family gathering. This banana pudding actually just starts out like my regular banana pudding recipe, which was a recipe that was shared with me years ago from a friend that I used to work with. It starts with 2 of the small 3.4 ounce boxes of instant vanilla pudding. Today I had to go with French vanilla because that's what the grocery store had. Into that, we're going to pour in 3 cups of cold milk. Just going to get all this whisked together until you feel it all, mixed in. I don't even pull out my hand mixer for this. It's so easy just to do it by hand with the whisk. You can see how quick this starts to set up. And what makes this banana pudding so different and good is this sweetened condensed milk. This nectar from heaven makes this banana pudding so rich, so creamy. It changes the texture and gives it like a thicker kind of body so it doesn't get runny. Sometimes banana puddings will tend to get kind of runny. The sweetened condensed milk gives this a whole bunch of body to it. Now I've got an 8-ounce tub of Cool Whip, and I'm going to take about half of this carton, maybe a little bit more. I'm just leaving enough to kind of top my banana pudding with, and all the rest of it, I'm just going to fold it right into this pudding mixture. And guys, we laugh every time I make something with Cool Whip. I always get asked, do you still save your Cool Whip bowls? And yes, I still save my Cool Whip bowls. And most of you guys did too. They're great for leftovers, aren't they? Sending them home with people. Oh yes, I don't know if I said, but you want to make sure you've had your Cool Whip setting out for just a little bit so it's thawed and it'll mix in real easy. Here's where this banana pudding gets a little bit crazy. These are actually Kroger brand Nutter Butters, so they're not shaped like a Nutter Butter, but that's what this cookie is. Instead of vanilla wafers, I'm using Nutter Butters in this. So I'm going to put a layer of those down. Now I'm going to start slicing my banana. And I don't know about you guys, but I can't put that end in the banana pudding. Can you? I always have to eat these ends. I don't know why, but I just don't want them in there. I want all my slices to look like this. Honestly, I don't even need bananas in my banana pudding. Now we're going to put in a little bit of our pudding mixture. I wished I had a pretty glass bowl that you could see this from the outside, but the one that I have is more like a punch bowl, and it just gets, you know, too spread out. It doesn't stack up tall. Now let's put in some more Nutter Butters, another banana, and something else I've been doing with my banana pudding is instead of Nutter Butters or even vanilla wafers, I have been using graham crackers, and they're delicious in banana pudding. Put in a little bit more of that pudding. If you wanted to, you could even break these cookies in half. They should get good and soft, and you should be able to, you know, spoon them out and break down into them after everything's set up. But, you know, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and break them into smaller pieces. And one last banana. I don't like them things either, them little strings. Now let's finish off that pudding, and I'm going to be cutting it close on this layer. But I've got it all covered, looks like. I'm anxious to see if the French vanilla tastes much different. But you know, if you wanted to, you can mix this up. I really think this is good with like a coconut pudding or cheesecake pudding. Could definitely use banana cream if you want an extra banana-y taste. I'm going to take what's left of my Cool Whip here. Let's just spread it out across the top. I'm going to try to get it to the edges, but sometimes I just pile it up in the center. I think that's kind of a pretty presentation too. But we're going to do a little something super extra today. Okay, let's just dab it around and make it look like it's got pretty little whips here on the top. Now I just saved a few little Nutter Butters here, and I think I'll take them sort of around the edges, kind of crisscross two of them up there in the center. And I'm just going to take a little drizzle of chocolate syrup right over the top. Could you do this between every layer? Most definitely, but we really don't need that. Now I'm going to get just a big spoonful of creamy peanut butter. We'll start with this much. I don't know how much that is. I'm going to put it down in one of my handy dandy microwave melting devices, these blue coffee cups. Now I'm just going to drizzle this peanut butter right over the top. And with this, I actually microwaved it 30 seconds. It wasn't exactly the consistency I wanted yet, so I just stirred it, went another 30 seconds, and it was perfect. How I normally top this is just with some of these mini chocolate chips and a couple of cookies, maybe crunched up, maybe whole, but I thought this would just take it over the top. This is definitely fun, decadent, delicious goodness, perfect for a big Easter dinner together. Now for the hardest part, we got to put a lid on it, stick it in the fridge, let it cool at least a few hours. We're actually going to eat this one at Sunday dinner tomorrow. I'll report back to you. You got to make this. Your family will go bananas for it. The French vanilla pudding made it very decadent. Normally, I'll throw a little teaspoon of vanilla in my regular banana pudding anyway. I didn't do that here. And this was the first time I've made it where I drizzled the chocolate and peanut butter over the top. My family went hog wild. I mean, this is great. Next, we're going to make a cheesy potato casserole. This is a lot like the hash brown casserole from Cracker Barrel, and I do like to use the shredded hash browns in this recipe as well. Going to start by thawing out that bag of hash browns in the refrigerator overnight. They're a lot easier to work with whenever they've been thawed out. And that's about a 29-ounce bag. Into that, we're going to put 1 can of cream and mushroom soup, about 8 ounces of sour cream, some diced onions, going to throw in 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese, going to start the stirring process now. It takes a little bit. Going to stir a little while, and then I have a stick of butter that I have melted, and I'm going to pour about half of that in, and I'm going to stir it some more. Going to pause, and I'm going to begin to season it up, and I just use salt and pepper in this. And then, you guessed it, I'm going to mix on it just a little bit more. Going to add in the rest of that butter and give it another good final mix. You need to use a really big bowl for this one. There's a lot of potatoes in there. Now, a 9x13 pan works perfect for this, but I did use a very deep oval dish that I have. I've sprayed it, put my potatoes in there, covering them, sticking them in the fridge till Thanksgiving Day. On Thanksgiving Day, all I have to do is put the topping on this, and I absolutely love the cornflakes on top of this. There's something about those sweet cornflakes. They're so good on here. I just melt a stick of butter and pour over the top. Sometimes I'll mix these together in a little bowl or a baggie. I put that in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes. This dish took closer to an hour because it was very, very deep. This is a dish that we like to have not only at Thanksgiving but at Christmas. We'll have it with this breakfast sausage quiche right here. I'll leave that video linked down in the description box for you in case you're interested in that. These hash browns are so delicious. They are cheesy, and I love the sour cream and onions in there. This is one that your family will be asking for over and over. So if you don't have a good potato casserole recipe, here is one for the books. Now, not only are they good with Thanksgiving and breakfast, they're delicious with pinto beans and greens too. Today we're in the kitchen with my mom, also known as Granny, and we're making Granny's cornbread dressing. And I've only made this once, and you wasn't here with me doing it either. Like, remember, you gave me instructions over the phone. So I am excited to see Granny make it too. When I made it, it was good, but it wasn't as good as hers. So I am excited to see it. You excited to make it, Granny?
I am.
We'll eat it, won't we?
We will. Okay, this morning we're going to be making cornbread dressing. I made the cornbread yesterday, probably a 12-inch skillet. I had this little leftover, so I threw that in. We used just a regular recipe for our cornbread. I don't think you would want sweet cornbread in your dressing, but if you prefer that, it's whatever you like. We have onion, celery, butter, sage, chicken broth, and cream of chicken soup. And that's the ingredients we'll be using. Now, normally I would make a bigger, probably double it for the actual Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes.
But today is just going to be our small group, so we're going to half it. Okay, today we're going to be using this little appliance that we found at Walmart. We saw this on Simply Sarah, and it is we call it the lawnmower string. But this little piece of equipment here has come out to be the best thing we've ever had, or I've ever had. I love it, and I dig it out for everything. I've got an electric one, but I still prefer this string one. Okay, our first step today, we're going to be chopping up our celery. And like I've said before, we're just doing a small recipe today of this cornbread stuffing or dressing. Now, I'm calling it cornbread because that's all I'm putting in mine. most people, right before Thanksgiving or a holiday, when they're going to have this dressing, they'll start saving their bread. So that was 2 stalks of celery here that we've got in here.
But we don't put bread in ours.
Yeah. A lot of people will use light bread, biscuits, whatever kind of bread they've got. They'll start putting it back, and then they put it all in their dressing. But for my preference, I just would rather have cornbread.
Me too.
Okay.
Let's count them.
Okay.
How many?
So we have it in here.
How many pulls?
Uh-oh.
1, 2. That's 16 pulls.
Okay, now.
Look at that.
It depends, too, on how fine you want your ingredients. So this is our celery. Okay, so now I'm crumbling up my cornbread. Like I said, I made this last night ahead of time. So we just want to get this all mashed up. Get all the big pieces out.
That looks very therapeutic.
It is.
You take out all your aggressions on that cornbread, can't you?
Yeah. My mama always made this for our Thanksgiving dinners. But then after she passed away, I kind of picked it up. So it needs to be passed on. It's very simple, but it's just something that we really, really like. And sometimes we think, why do we think we just got to have it on Thanksgiving? You know, we could have this anytime.
So that's what we're doing this week.
Yes, we're going to have this tomorrow.
Yeah, this is Halloween when we're filming this. And I said, hey, Granny, let's make your dressing so I can show it for Thanksgiving. And we can eat it on Sunday. So I mean, it's not actually Halloween day. It's like Saturday before Halloween.
Right.
So anywho. Okay, that looks good. That is very, very finely, like it's just crumbs with just a very few little, kind of chunky pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, now?
Now I'm going to go ahead and add my celery in here so I can chop my onion up. Okay, we're chopping up our onion now. This little gadget here gives you a good workout too. Good exercise. But I still love it. Okay, so we've got our cornbread, our celery, and our onion. And we're going to put in a can of chicken broth.
And this is just what we call a regular size can. It's 14.5 ounces.
And now we're going to add 1 can of cream of chicken soup. Now, my mom never did put soup in her dressing. But somehow, down through the years, I just found that I like this. Makes it a little bit more moisture.
It like holds together good too.
Right.
I wonder if that soup makes it hold. And that's just a little regular 10.5 ounce can.
Okay. Now, right here's the most important thing is your ground sage. And you can't hardly get too much sage. So... And I never measure anything. Can you kind of guess at that, Melanie?
Couple teaspoons, maybe. Probably like 3 or maybe 2 big tablespoons.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was this full? Like
no?
No. Okay. I don't know. And that's the only seasoning that you put in this.
Now, we can put some black pepper in it.
Okay.
If you have black pepper.
You know I have black pepper.
And I always go by smell, too, because you can really smell this sage. And the sage is really what makes this good.
You know what they say about the smeller?
What's that?
He's the feller.
Okay, give me some black pepper.
You tell me when. Don't smell this, it'll make you sneeze.
What?
Takes a while in these crackers.
Yes, I smell that
That's
black
strong,
pepper.
isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go for a little bit more sage. And you can put it on top of your dressing, too, if you don't think you have enough.
Could you use poultry seasoning? What all's in poultry seasoning? Let's Google it.
Well, I never have, but I'm sure you could because that's the way most people what most people use.
Hey Google, what is in poultry seasoning? So, yes, the poultry seasoning is mainly sage and thyme, a few other things. So, I guess if you got poultry seasoning but you don't have sage, it'd probably work.
Right.
Okay, now what's going in?
Okay, we got 1 stick of melted butter.
Yes. Remember that Halloween where I dressed up like Paula Deen and I made that big box of butter for Patrick to wear and he wouldn't do it? And you had to be my butter.
How was your butter?
For trick or treat. I'll put a picture of that up here. I love that.
The things we do for our children.
And for my trunk, I had like everybody I knew collecting their butter boxes for months. And I had a trunk full of empty butter boxes. It was awesome.
When we were talking about smelling a while ago, and Melanie said for me not to smell, brought back a memory of one day we were in this kitchen making hard candy for Christmas, and we were making cinnamon candy, and I told Melanie, I said, "No, don't put your head over that and smell." And I just said it, and she just stuck her nose over it, and she went to hollering, and she had burnt the inside of her nose with cinnamon. So that's another video we may do sometime.
Oh, that
around
is
Christmas
crazy,
time.
making that hard candy.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Well,
do that
I just
video.
didn't think it could be that strong,
You
but it
just-
was. It was. Are we? She's smelling it.
And I think we're going to have a little bit more sage.
So, man, that's a lot of sage. I have no idea how much.
Yeah.
You're just looking to be able to smell the sage over top of everything else in there, I guess, right?
Right.
Okay.
We have a cookie sheet, and we're going to put our dressing over.
It's hard when those bowls are big, ain't it?
Yeah. We're going to put our dressing into our pan. Now, this is another thing. If you like thick dressing, make it thick.
Like you could make it in a 9x13.
Right. But, again, my preference is small, thin, and get the top good and crusty. And we're going to pat it out. It was, we greased our pan, and it's just a cookie sheet. And this is a perfect recipe for this size pan. If you go get dressing in a restaurant, it's going to be a big chunk. Like I said, very thick. But now this is just the way we tend to like it.
Looks like it's like 9 or 10 by 15.
Okay.
I don't know. It's probably just a standard size. I bet you would have to cook it a really long time if you put it in a casserole dish.
Right.
We can't wait. We ain't got time like that. We gotta have it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that is why. Okay, I always wondered what that was when I ate that. That's the fork prints. I never knew that.
Okay, here we go again with this sage. Okay, we're going to sprinkle just a little bit more sage on the top of it.
And what temperature?
And we will cook this at 350. And let's check it we'll check it in 30 minutes.
And how will we know when it's done?
When it turns brown on top.
Okay. That's my kind of cooking. All right, put her in. We won't show my dirty oven. We checked our dressing after 40 minutes. It wasn't quite done enough and brown enough for us, so we just made some adjustments. That is what we're talking about.
So that is the finished product.
So we did about 40 minutes at 350. Then we bumped it up to 400 for about 10 more minutes. So you could probably cook it at 375 or 400 for maybe 30 or 40 minutes.
Right.
It's just, cooking is not a precise science, is it, Granny?
No, it's not.
You got to be flexible, don't you?
Uh-huh.
You got to watch things, and every time you make something, it can turn out different. Look at the steam coming off that. Can y'all see that? I cannot wait. So we got to let it sit here for a little bit. What's our next step?
Well, let's see if we can cut out a piece.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, do you have a spatula?
I do. I have this little...
Oh, that's perfect.
Yes, I have this little mini spatula.
And nothing is better than this with mashed potatoes and gravy over this.
Oh, that's
it would probably do better if we let it set.
Yes, that's perfect.
But now that's the way we like ours. Thin with a crusty top, brown gravy or chicken gravy over that, mashed potatoes, turkey, ham.
Beans, potatoes, tomatoes.
Getting hungry just thinking about it.
You name it.
Okay, so that's your...
Awesome. We got to let it set up just a little bit, don't we?
Yeah, it just needs to
We got to let it set up. That's the hardest part, the waiting. This year I made my friend Jen's fresh cranberry sauce. First year I have ever made from fresh. You just take one bag of cranberries, rinse them really good, put them on a heavy pot on top of the stove, and you're going to add in a half a cup of water and 1.5 cups sugar. Going to put in a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and again I used about half a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. And you also want to put in about half a teaspoon of salt. Just going to stir all that together over high heat. And I happen to remember Jen suggested that you put a little orange juice in there too, or even replace all the water with juice. You want to bring these up to a really high boil, then cut them down to simmer for about 30 minutes. You'll begin to hear them pop and all the magic happens. Look how beautiful this sauce turned out. Once you get to that beautiful sauce consistency, you're just going to pull that off the stove eye and let it cool. Then you're ready to refrigerate that. I'll have Jen's channel, Cook, Clean, and Repeat, linked down in my description box for you. Most of you all have probably already seen them, but if you haven't, you're in for a real treat. Wanted to show you a little bit of our Thanksgiving dinner. I always love to share this with you.
Lord, it's me again. I hadn't talked to you in a while. I'm sorry about that. But we're thankful to all be able to get together, have a good meal. Thankful for all you've done for us through the year. We ask you to bless our food, the use of our body, and us to your service. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. It never ceases to amaze me how you can take simple, everyday foods to the next level in flavor or their presentation just by adding a little different spice here or there, or just serving it up in a unique or unexpected way along with some little extras. We're going to try to make a little mini version of a Copycat honey baked ham. The ham that I'm using today is this little Kentucky Legend quartered ham. I love these. I get them all the time. This one is right under 2 pounds, and it'll go a long ways. If I make these for dinner, we always have leftovers that we can have with breakfast biscuits. I can save some of this and put it in pinto beans. Today, even though this one's already brown sugared, we're going to do a little bit more with it just for demonstration purposes. We're going to go ahead and mix up the little seasoning mixture that we'll be putting on it, and I use just a little less than a 1/4 cup of white sugar. I'm going to sprinkle in just a smidgen of paprika. My ham is not large, so it won't take much. Going to crack in just a smidgen of black pepper, and I'm using about half of a teaspoonful of pumpkin pie spice. The recipe called for cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, and all these things that are in pumpkin pie spice. So I'm just using it, and we're just going to combine all this together. Again, I'll have a full recipe for this linked down in the description box for you. Now we'll just set this aside. This little ham is, of course, fully cooked. That's my favorite piece right there on the end, and I think the cook gets to sample it. The spiral hams that we buy nowadays to have on the holidays already cooked. We're basically just heating them up. I'm going to take about 1/4 cup of water and just pour it around the ham. Then I'm going to take about a tablespoon of honey, and I'm just going to spread it out over the top of this. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's all going to get gooey and melt over it. Now I'm going to tint mine with some aluminum foil, and I'm going to put it in a 425-degree oven. It'll probably take it 20 to 30 minutes to get heated, and then we'll go in with our seasoning mixture. And what is wonderful about this, if you have a larger ham, like what you would feed your whole family with on Easter, you can do this whole part in the crock pot, just getting it warmed up all the way through. Saves your oven space for other things. Now that it's thoroughly warmed up, we're gonna glaze it again with just a little bit more honey and get it all brushed on here. Then we're gonna take that little spice mixture that we mixed up, put it all over the top of this ham and really press it into it. Then we're gonna put it back in the oven. Cranked the broil up on my little ham. Look at that glaze. It got crunchy and crispy just like you want it. This was absolutely delicious. Look, it's almost like candy coated on the outside. We loved it. In a little mixing bowl, I'm going to use 4 ounces. That's half a block of softened cream cheese. I'm going to put in about 1/6 of a cup of granulated sugar and 1/2 cup of sour cream. I'm going to get this mixed up till it's just combined. Then I'm going to pour in about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now we're just going to continue to beat it until it's nice and fluffy and combined. The great thing about this little grape salad, just besides that it's delicious, is it's kind of versatile. You can use it on its own. You can use it as a side dish. It's even, a good dessert. I would say don't let the fruit aspect of this little recipe fool you. It's not necessarily healthy. But it is good. I like to make it for special occasions like Easter and Christmas, and a little stretches a long way with this recipe. It can really feed a crowd. This is also a classic Southern dish that you're going to see at any baby shower or wedding shower. And I'm halving this recipe tonight. So I've got 1 pound of red and 1 pound of green seedless grapes. And of course, you just got to pull them off the little stems. You don't want anything to have a stem in it. Then we're going to wash these really good and let them get nice and dry. Now we're going to put our grapes in here and begin to toss them. And I just think it's a little easier to start with like half of them and then add the rest. And I'll be honest with you, I may have a little bit too much cream cheese and sour cream mixture in here. It doesn't take as much as you'd think. And we may have just snacked on too many of these grapes when they were being picked off and washed.
All right.
It's all right. Like most good old Southern recipes, this one is best macerated in the refrigerator overnight. Then tomorrow we'll put a couple more things on top of it right before we serve it. Now let's finish off our grape salad just by sprinkling about 1 tablespoon or so of brown sugar over the top. And this is definitely too much cream cheese, but we'll still enjoy it. I like my grape salad where you can still kind of see the color of the grapes. Now we're going to sprinkle in some chopped pecans. This really is a pretty salad, all presented up like this. It's very delicious too. Look at all of this plated up together. The ham just not only tastes great, but it just presented beautifully. I can't say enough good things about the pineapple casserole. Even the skeptics loved it. The green beans were amazing, and really any of these recipes are great for a holiday or any weeknight meal too. And the grape salad, like I said, it's really a dessert with that brown sugar that gets all seeped into that cream cheese, but then you got just a little bit of crunch. Friends, I just decided to take every single holiday dinner video I've ever made and put them all into one easy to find playlist. Whether it's Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or 4th of July, they're all going to be there. I found these recipes are really interchangeable for any holiday dinner you'd have. So take a look at it right here if you're still wanting more ideas. Any recipe you choose from any one of these videos would be great year round. Thank you so much for watching tonight. I appreciate you, and until next week, I send you love from my kitchen.